All glories to assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagvatam, Canto 10, text, chapter 52, chapter entitled Rukmani's Message to Krishna, text 3 to text 12. So we'll recite text 11. गिरौ निलिनाव अज्ञाय गिरौ निलिनाव अज्ञाय नाधिगम्य पदं नृप नाधिगम्य पदं नृप ददाह गिरिम् एधोबि ददाह गिरिम् एधोभि समन्तादग्निमुत्सृजन् समन्तादग्निमुत्सृजन् गिरौ निलिनावज्ञाय नाधिगम्य पदं नृप ददाह गिरिमेधोभि समन्तादग्निमुत्सृजन् Please recite. अग्निमुत्सृजन् ग्रहमिलिनाज्ञाय नाधिगम्य पदं नृप Mataji's word to word meaning. Girau on the mountain, Nilinam hiding, Ajnaya being aware, Na Adhigamya not finding, Padam their location, Nripa O King Parikshit, Dadaha he set ablaze, Girim the mountain, Edobhi with firewood, Samanta on all sides, Agnim fire, Uttrijan generating. Translation and purport by disciples of Srila Prabhupada. Translation. Although he knew they were hiding on the mountain, Jarasandha could find no trace of them. Therefore, O king, he placed firewood on all sides and set the mountain ablaze. Purport. Clearly we are observing one of the Supreme Lord's transcendental pastime. Although the Bhagavatam states that the two Lords, Krishna and Balaram, were exhausted, even in their so-called exhausted state, they were able to quickly climb a high mountain and shortly thereafter jumped off it to the ground. It would be unwise and illogical to ignore the whole picture the sages are giving us here and instead try to pick apart isolated descriptions. Clearly we are watching the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the midst of His spiritual pastimes. We are not observing an ordinary human being. Lord Krishna and Lord Balaram were still quite young men when this pastime took place, and one can easily see in these descriptions how they must have been enjoying themselves, eagerly fleeing from the somewhat ridiculous King Jarasandha, racing up a mountain, jumping off and totally befuddling the constantly failing demon, who somehow or the other never lost confidence in himself. Seen without envy or quarrelsomeness, the Lord's pastimes are immensely entertaining. So there are a few more verses. So what we will do after Mangalacharan, we will go verse by verse, and whatever points are there, we will keep discussing. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathamitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakha Vitamsya Namaham Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyata Deshatarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Namane Gauratishe Namaha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा हरे कृष्ण। So the chapter title mentioned here is Rukmani's message to Krishna, which will come eventually. And Srila Prabhupada in Krishna book writes Ranchor, this chapter as Ranchor. So on Sunday we had seen discussion on text 1 and 2, and in text 2 it's mentioned how after Krishna delivered King Muchukund, and after Muchukunda's prayer he took permission from the Lord and he departed. So when he came out of the cave, he saw suddenly all the objects and the human beings, all trees and everything and human beings all have reduced in their size. So he understood that the Kali Yuga is starting, almost started. And Srila Prabhupada writes that the human beings became pygmy size, smaller size. And then King Muchukunda left for the north. Text 3, which we'll start today. Tapah shraddha yuto dhire nisango mukta samshaya samadhaya manah krishne pravishad gandhamadanam. The sober king, beyond material association and free from doubt, was convinced of the value of austerity. Absorbing his mind in Lord Krishna, he came to Gandhamadana mountain. The name Gandhamadana indicates a place of delightful fragrances. Undoubtedly, Gandhamadana was filled with aroma of wild flowers and forest honey, and with other natural scents. Sometimes people say that, when you take the life of spirituality, it's very dirty, it's very, not livable life. So I don't know how they have this imagination that when you take the life of spirituality, the austerities, it's not a livable life. You see, King Muchukund was living in cave and now he has gone to Gandhamadana mountain. Gandha means fragrance, Madana means madness. It's so fragrant that it completely, takes away your mind. So Krishna has created this wonderful creation. As Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes, Keshavatuva Jagata Vichitra. And he gives different meanings to Vichitra. So it's colorful. Krishna has not created the world we are seeing today. Krishna created unalloyed. Then we mix something. Now it has become alloyed. Alloy when you mix two metals. So now this place is becoming more and more filthier. Even in cities, they say Bombay is the best of the cities in India, most important city. Srila Prabhupada said Bombay is most important city. Until today, Bombay is most important city in India. But you see, and in this most important city, this area Juhu is very important, very prominent. Everyone in India knows Juhu. Everyone in India knows Juhu beach. But you see, there's a huge wide canal flowing through this entire area. This is Durgandha Mandana. This is Gandha Madana. This is Durgandha Madana. You become mad with so much of filth coming, And then you cross from in this city you cross from Andheri, west to east, then you have to go through that subway, and you feel like you are like rat. You see rats living in these dingy places. Going through this, some water is dripping, and so much of darkness, dampness. As Srila Prabhupada described, this is like hell. So if this is their modern created society, and they say that what is for spirituality, that's not very good. But you see where he has gone to practice. See very clearly the difference inside the temple, outside the temple. See the cleanliness standard. See the hygiene. See the quality of food, quality of life. So much of difference. So it's not that, when you practice austerities and you practice spirituality, so you have to live in a very non-livable condition. All the sadhus, they used to live very clean. So we can understand that how, see, if you give some raw material to a person, and then you give some, flour, some spices, some vegetables, and oil and cooking facility to the good cook or to the cook, and he creates wonderful items from, Prabhupada said just take some milk and you can take sugar and hundreds of items, just milk and sugar you can create. How do you know who's a good cook? Whatever resources you give to that cook, he'll create something wonderful. He is a good cook. That is the test of a cook. And imagine if you give best of the facilities to a person who claims that he is a cook, and what he gives you is, all rotten food and very non-tasty food, something very unedible. The shape is not in place, the fragrance is not coming off the food, and messed up everything. And then you go in the kitchen, it's messier. Sometimes some people, they cook, somehow they manage to cook, but if you see the kitchen, they have messed up the kitchen. So many, utensils everywhere, everything is spread out. So this is what exactly humans have done today. These so-called humans who think that we are very intelligent, Krishna created such a beautiful world and gave to them. And what they have done. Even if they wouldn't have touched anything, this world would have been a very beautiful place. But see, and then humans are saying that we are very intelligent. Somehow, it's very bewildering that even sometimes even devotees get attracted towards such a tall tower, the bridge over the ocean, technology, fast moving trains, but everything comes to halt. Everything comes to halt, and this becomes more dangerous. Flights are crashing, trains are meeting accident. There was the bus traveling few days ago on the highway. So now human beings want to create the highway where there is no signal, no cross lanes, expressway, super expressway. Smoothly you keep going. There is another problem. Anything humans create, there is always problem attached to it. So the bus was traveling, people were traveling in the bus, met an accident. 26 people died on the spot. The bus caught fire, 26 people died on the spot. A highway, expressway. They didn't bang any other vehicle. No other vehicle rammed into this bus. This bus went and hit the divider. And they are researching why it happened. So there is something called road hypnosis. It's called road hypnosis. So when there is completely open road, smooth, no traffic, no signal, you just keep moving. So the driver gets into the situation of hypnosis. Like something like, hypnotism. Because he's seeing everything same all the time. And that is where he gets bewildered. His vision gets blurred. He feels, sleepy. And that is why this accident happened. So people want to create seamless transportation, seamless communication. But that is creating another problem. So, for a sadhaka, if the life is very smooth, seamless, he may meet an accident. If a sadhaka is meeting challenges, then he will be awake. If we are meeting challenges in the material world, we'll be alert, we'll be awake, we'll be more in a surrender mood, more prayerful mood. As compared to sometimes when life becomes, sometimes you feel life is smooth. How can you have a smooth life in this material world? Even in Satyuga, at the time of Prahlad Maharaj, the life was not smooth for him. So how can we expect with, unlimited Hiranyakashipus, the life will be smoother for us? It will come in next verse. How to deal with these challenges? So in text 4, it is said, Badari ashramam asadya naranarayanālayam sarvadvandva saha shantas tapasaradhya dharim. So it is said, there he arrived at, King Muchukund, he arrived at Badrika Ashram, the abode of Lord Naranarayana, where remaining tolerant to all dualities, he peacefully worshipped the Supreme Lord Hari by performing severe austerities. Sarva Dvanda Saha Shantas. Never expect a peaceful life in this material world. Why? Because Krishna is perfect and Krishna's creation is perfect. So this material world is a perfectly created imperfect place. Sometimes people, sometimes even as a sadhaka, we feel, why Krishna cannot create all the happiness which is there in spiritual world here also? What is the problem? Yes, Krishna can create. But the counter question is, why don't you go back to spiritual world and you want to live in this place? If you are questioning Krishna, then you should question yourself, why shall I not go back? No, but for going back, I have to do so much of austerity, so much of hard work. So do you think all the facilities you will earn without hard work? हिंदी में जैसे ना बाप का माल है. Yes, it is बाप का माल. But then to earn even father's property, you have to work hard. You have to surrender to the father, as Brahmaji says. Mukti pade sadaya bhav. You have to surrender to the father. Otherwise, father will kick you out. And that's happening. If the son is not surrendering to the will of father, father will say, okay, get lost. But Krishna is at least not saying get lost. Krishna is rather inviting. We have left, but Krishna is inviting. But this place is a place for hardship. And how to deal with it? Sarva Dvanda, all the dvandas, all the dualities. Good, bad, day, night. All this sukha and dukha, happiness and misery. Why it is, how to deal with it? There is saha. Tolerate. Tam titikshasva bharata, same shloka. Shitoshna sukha dukkada. And how can you tolerate? Agama apaina anityas, anitya. This is non-permanent situation. So all these dvandas are actually mental. Suppose someone is blind. How does day or night makes difference to him? The same thing. He is anyways blind. So these dvandas are more mental perceptions. Yes, there is day, there is night, there is happiness, there is misery. But why it affects us? Because our mind gets involved. That's why it affects us. There are people, you see, working very hard, working in night shifts very hard, sitting in office, so much of light and working very hard without even caring for this day or night, without caring for hunger or thirst, without caring for the sleep. They work very hard. Why? Because the mind is absorbed in the work and they are able to rise above. That we have seen. Even kids, when they play, they forget hunger or thirst. They forget they have to go home and study. They just are absorbed in playing. So if we, Srila Prabhupada gives this example of Stalin. So Stalin was a leader of a communist party. Huge movement, revolution he started, but demoniac. So he had some infection in his stomach. And he went to a doctor. He was admitted in the hospital, and that time there was no anesthesia or something. They used to give patient chloroform to drink so that the patient goes in unconscious state and then we can operate. Otherwise it's painful. While cutting your nails, if less than a millimeter, if you cut more, it pains. And the pain remains for some time. Imagine someone opening your stomach. So Stalin told to doctor said, okay, take this glass of chloroform, you drink and then we'll do our work. He said, no, I don't want to drink. I want to see what is inside. Can you imagine? Who can do this? Sometimes the austerities what demons performed are much intense. See, Hiranyakashipu, na bhuto na bhavishyati. Then Bhasmasur. So their austerities, he is such a demoniac person, but he is able to see when doctor is actually opening his stomach, operating, treating, stitching, and he is seeing it. So Prabhupada says, because he was a leader of an organization, his mind was completely absorbed in how to expand the mission. He could tolerate this. He was not affected. So if a person with demoniac nature could rise above the modes, not that he was above 3 modes, but he was able to tolerate that. So that is how the only process is. To tolerate is to absorb yourself in more positive, the higher taste. Sarva dvanda saha. So what will happen when we will tolerate all the dvandas? Shantas. Our mind will become peaceful. The most essential ingredient to practice bhakti is a peaceful mind. Nothing else. You may sit in any corner of the world. What you need is a peaceful mind, and then you chant. That's the only thing we want. And all these processes, so many services, is to make the mind peaceful by overcoming the dualities. And how do we overcome the dualities? By absorbing the mind in Krishna consciousness. Not that the mind will become peaceful when you will sleep in chanting or sleep in Bhagavatam class. It appears, oh, Shanta. We are not talking about that state where the mind is not peaceful because it's still dreaming. The mind will only become peaceful when absorbed in Krishna's service. And so many pastimes of the Lord and devotees, so many bhajans are written on this concept. So we can easily become Shantaha by overcoming the dualities by crossing over the dualities, by absorbing our mind in Krishna's service. How do we do that? We have to take some effort. We have to put some effort. In the material world, they say going an extra mile, stretching the limits. We don't have to stretch the limit. We are well under the limits, but we have to go that extra mile. We have to put conscious and very conscious efforts to absorb in Krishna's service. Be it holy name, be it Krishna Katha, be it Krishna's form, be it Krishna's service. Here, Muchukunda Maharaj went to Himalayan mountains. He was told, okay, Krishna approved. And the Sunday Maharaj was saying that for us, Prabhupada is not saying go to mountains. Prabhupada never went to Char Dham. Prabhupada is not talking about, Prabhupada is saying going to cities where people are there and expand the mission. Srila Prabhupada in one of the lectures, he is talking about how soldiers are also citizens of the nation and ordinary citizens are also citizens of the nation. But why government takes care of soldiers more than ordinary citizens? Because they sacrifice and go to the borders and take care of the mission. What is the mission? To protect the country. That is the mission. So whether it is raining, whether there is snow, whether there is scorching heat, the soldiers are at the border, at their post. They don't leave that. मन नहीं कर रहा है. If people who are not devotees, if they can do that, why devotees cannot do that? मन नहीं कर रहा है मेरा. So Prabhupada says they are taken care more by government because they are engaged in the mission. So when we are engaged in the mission, then we are taken care by Krishna more. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, one who preaches this message is most dear to me. So, and then Prabhupada says, because one disciple asked after the lecture, he said, Srila Prabhupada, now I have the holy name. And you said holy name is everything. I have the holy name received from you. Holy name is everything. So I can go to forest and practice bhakti. I don't need anything else. Again, this devotee forgot. You don't need holy name. First you need peaceful mind. Otherwise how will you chant? Today also I was hearing lecture. Prabhupada says it's not possible to chant whole day, 24 hours. Because there are so many anarthas. The mind is not peaceful, restless. We cannot chant 24 hours a day. That's a target, that's a goal we have to reach. All the time engage in chanting the names of Krishna. So Prabhupada says, yes, you can go. Then do what? You will be able to deliver yourself only. But if you spread this holy name to others, you will be able to deliver others also. And then you become dear to Krishna. Otherwise that also is the one kind of selfishness. Do not preach Jiva Himsa. So when we engage ourselves in missionary activities, then the absorption of mind is more in Krishna's service. And devotees have experienced, especially at the time of book distribution. So when we are distributing books, we get absorbed. External things, we don't get affected much with. Then, now Krishna gave, darshan to Muchukunda. Muchukunda left after the prayers, after the blessing from Krishna. So what happens here? King Muchukunda went. What happened in Mathura? Let us see that. Bhagavan punar avrajya Purim Yavana Veshtitam Hatva Mlecha Balam Nenne Tariyam Dwarakam Dhanam. Very interesting. The Lord returned to Mathura because he was on the outskirts of Mathura, which was still surrounded by Yavanas. He killed only one Yavana, who was the leader, Kal Yavana, but other Yavanas were there. They were waiting. Then he destroyed the army of barbarians. So Yavanas are barbarians. And began taking their valuables to Dwarka. That is amazing. The Lord's activities are mysterious. Why he has to take Jutha? For Lord it's Jutha, no? It's like, he is collecting all this booty from the dead bodies. Okay, kings used to do, so very mysterious. Sometimes it's inconceivable. Most of the time it's inconceivable to understand the pastimes of the Lord. He is Lakshmipati, but he is collecting. And he will tell his men to collect and load everything on the bullock carts and will take. And then what will happen with this booty, you will see. So we can, take out different lessons. One is that everything has to be engaged in Krishna's service. These Yavanas did not engage. They were killed, but Krishna is still engaging. Maybe they will get some sukriti. The person who was wearing helmet and armlets and bracelets of gold and earrings, and they are taken, so maybe that soul may get sukriti. It is clear from this verse that Kalavan alone pursued Lord Krishna into the mountain cave. When Krishna returned to the besieged city of Mathura, he eliminated the vast barbarian army. Then, text 6, he says, Niyamane dhane gobhir nirbhescha chuta choditahe ajagama jara sandhas trayo Vimshati Anikapaha. As the wealth was being carried by oxen and men under Lord Krishna's direction, Jarasandha appeared at the head of 23 armies. 23 armies mean 23 Akshani Senas. Now Krishna and Balaram are leading their men who are carrying all this golden jewels, jewelry and helmet and everything. But this fellow comes, Jarasandha, with 23 Akshonis. Maximum he brought this time. 17 times he got defeated, but this time again he got. So then what happens? Vilokya Vebarabasam Ripu Senyasya Madhavau Manushya Cheshta Mapannau Rajan Dudruvatur Drutam. O king, seeing the fierce wave of the enemy's army, the two Madhavas, imitating human behavior, ran swiftly away. Again, very interesting. They collected the booty, but they ran and left everything there. So why did they collect? In one of the purports, maybe in the purport, or Prabhupada writes in Krishna book, the demons, they try to measure the strength of the Lord. But devotees, they don't do that. They simply surrender. So here, interesting words are Vega Rabasam. Vega means, Vega, force, Rabasam, the fierceness. So they ran very fast and everything was left behind. Obviously you cannot carry. So maybe Krishna is trying to teach whatever wealth you have to leave behind and run. So they ran. And another word is Madhavau. In English, Madhavas, not Madhava, Madhavas. The two Madhavas. So Krishna and Balaram both are addressed here as Madhava. So that is why this Madhava. So both are same. Imitating human behavior. Manusha chestitam apanno. They run swiftly. Where do they run? It says, Vihaya vittam prachuram abhitau bhritubhitavat padyabham padbhyam padmapalashabhyam chelatur bahu yojanam. Abandoning the abundant riches, fearless but feigning fear, they went many yojanas on their lotus-like feet. They traveled many yojanas, running away from that place, leaving everything behind. Palayamanau tau drishtva magada prahasan bali anvadhavad rathani kair ishayor apramanavet. When he saw them fleeing, who saw them? Magad king, Jarasandha. He saw them fleeing. The powerful Jarasandha laughed loudly and then pursued them with charioteers and foot soldiers. He could not understand the exalted position of the two lords. So, Lord is doing a pastime here. Now our Acharya has explained, it's not a loving pastime. Sometimes he does this loving pastime where he acts like a human being. Like Damodar Leela happened. It was a loving pastime. Nobody can bind Krishna. It's only because Krishna is controlled by the love of Mother Yashoda. But there are no devotees. So this cannot be loving pastime. And obviously, he is not fearful. Krishna is not fearful that he is running away. So Uddhava explains this in, I'll read that translation, very interesting. What Uddhava talks about. See, in the third canto, 4th chapter, 16th verse, Uddhava says, My dear, my Lord, even the learned sages become disturbed in their intelligence when they see that your greatness engages in fruitive work, although you are free from desires. He is saying, even the learned sages become disturbed in their intelligence when they see you, when they see that your greatness, that means you are so great, engages in fruitive work, although you are free from all desires. You take birth, although you are unborn. In Bhagavad Gita, in the 4th chapter, 6th verse, Krishna says, Ajo api san abhyatma. And the 9th verse, he says, Janma karma chamedine. So sometimes people ask, here you are saying 2 verses before, Ajo, that you do not take birth, but again, after 2 verses you take birth. Then he says, you flee out of fear of the enemy and take shelter in the fort. This is this context. Running out of fear from enemy, Jarasandha, and take shelter of the fort, Dwarka. Although you are controller of the invisible time. It's like, two contrasting. We have Lord Narsinga there, we have Damodar. Same person. Even the fear personified is fearful just of the Lord's names. What to talk about the Supreme Lord coming himself. And here is same personality Krishna who is fearful of Mother Yashoda. So very contrasting pastimes. You enjoy householder life surrounded by many women, although you enjoy in yourself. You are Atmaram. Still you marry 16,108 princes. Even though you are Atma. So this is, nature of the Lord. So there, that is why he says that Vishwanath Chakravarti explains that you did not run out of fear, and it was not a loving pastime. It's not conceivable, it's inconceivable. And Srila Prabhupada in Krishna book writes in this context, this is the display of the supermost opulence by Krishna, which is renunciation. He renounces gold, he renounces his name, fame. Running away is the sign of a coward. But he renounces everything. And Prabhupada says because he had some other work. Work means he has some other duties to attend, but Krishna has no duty, but there are devotees waiting. Rukmaniji is sending a letter, so Krishna has to go and read that letter. That is more important than dealing with Jarasandha. And Jarasandha obviously has a role. It's not difficult for a Lord to kill, like elephant takes up the mushroom, small mushroom. What is so difficult? But Jarasandha has a role in future. So then a Lord is running away. Now when anyone runs away from the duties, he is called a coward. Not only a Kshatriya. Anyone who runs away from the duty will bring inauspiciousness and ill fame for the person. And that's why Krishna says in 18th chapter that you do your duty even though imperfectly, but don't imitate others. You don't leave your duty. And Prabhupada says whatever duty you have, whatever class you are, whatever varna you belong to, you perform and you go back to cottage. Why you want to perfect things here in this material world which is imperfect? Wherever you are, whatever you are, just go back. So now Krishna is running away. But Krishna, because he is Krishna, if he steals butter, he is butter thief. And people worship him. So in Gujarat, we know that there is a temple, very famous temple in Dapur, Ranchod Rai. Prabhupada writes in Krishna book, there are many temples in Gujarat of Ranchod. There may be there are so many other temples also we have not visited. So this temple, and I was recently, the last month in Dapur, so their Mangalarti starts, the first darshan, Mangalarti starts at 7:15 when we have darshan arti. So when you go, so I reached before that. So when the darshan was opening, in the evening also I saw people would loudly, they would say, Jai Ranchod, Jai Ranchod. They'll say, Jai Ranchod. And I gave out a laugh. There is someone who has, ran away, Ranchod, and they are saying Jai Ranchod. This is Krishna. Completely inconceivable. Nobody can understand it. He is still popular. If any ordinary man, human being, he leaves, ill fame and inauspiciousness will come. But Krishna left, his fame increases. Temples are being built for him. And there you go, like we say Hare Krishna. In Gujarat, many people say Jai Shri Krishna. They say Jai Ranchod. If they meet anyone, Jai Ranchod. Mysterious. Then 10th, Pradyuta Duram Samshrantau Tungam Aruhatam Girim Pravarshanakyam Bhagavan Nityada Yatra Varshati. Apparently, exhausted after fleeing for a long distance, the two lords climbed a high mountain named Pravarshana, upon which Lord Indra showers incessant rain. So Pravarshana, this is a mountain. What is the height of this mountain? 88 miles. And which is the tallest mountain we have in the world today? Mount Everest. What is the height? 8 kilometers. Little more than 8 kilometers. Which you convert in miles is around 5.5 miles. 1.6 kilometers is a mile. And this is 88 miles tall mountain. Imagine this. And Krishna and Balaram after running, they felt exhausted. Again, all the pastimes you see, so if we cannot understand, we just relish. My Lord is so great, He can do anything. That's how this story of barber and a Brahmana, cobbler and a Brahmana. What is Lord doing? He's passing an elephant through the hole of a needle. So Brahmana is using his intelligence. So not every time we have to use intelligence. Cobbler was simple devotee. He said, very nice, my Lord can do anything. Wonderful pastime. We say Lord is Ananta. But then we try to restrict Him by measuring with our intelligence. So if his pastimes are inconceivable, they are inconceivable. Whatever acharyas have given, we try to understand that much, that is sufficient. So then, this mountain, Pravarshana, because all the time throughout the year there were rains, incessant rains. The peak was covered with the clouds. And these brothers, they climbed the mountain. Now we came to text 11 where he says, although he knew Jarasandha, they are hiding on the mountain, Jarasandha could find no trace of them. Therefore, O king, he placed firewood on all sides and set the mountain ablaze. Very interesting. If the mountain is 88 miles high, what would be the circumference, even at the top? And this fellow has so much time, energy, fuel and manpower that he puts the firewood and uses the fuel, I don't know what fuel he used, and then he burns. So how much, even demons had resources. The richest, the top 10 richest men of the world, they will be like beggars in front of Jarasandha. So he had time to burn this forest, a mountainous forest. He had energy, he had resources, he had manpower, fuel, everything. Otherwise, he would have just gone back. But then, that false ego. Krishna speaks in 16th chapter of Bhagavad Gita how a demoniac person thinks. I have killed so many enemies and I have killed all the enemies. So he is considering Krishna the enemy and he wants to kill him. Krishna had no direct enmity. It's just because Krishna killed Kamsa. So how the demons are. Now this demoniac Jarasandha is not able to see the mistake of Kamsa. What he did to Devaki, what he did to Ugrasen, his own father, what he did by sending to Mathuravasis, what he did by sending so many demons to Vrindavan, Jarasandha was completely blind towards that. And when Krishna, just to bring justice to Brajvasis, he kills Kamsa, not out of his own personal vengeance. Krishna cannot have personal vengeance. That's why it is said that Lord Ram, he killed the Ravana without any hatred or animosity in his heart. How can Lord have any animosity towards a living entity? We are all his, amshas. So Krishna has no vengeance. Krishna has no animosity. Even if Krishna wants to destroy someone, he cannot do so. Because the moment Krishna decides to deal with someone, the person on the opposite side will become all auspicious. Because Krishna is there. Like the sun cannot see the moonlight. Before the sun travels, the moonlight is gone. The dark night with twinkling stars and the shining moon, they all get disappeared. The Krishna, apparently people say, oh, Krishna ne yuddha karaya. Krishna was the person, Krishna was the man who made all this. And Gandhari also cursed Krishna. That because of you, these brothers fought. But everyone who was there on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, in everyone's life what came? Not the death, auspiciousness in the form of death. So what's the harm? So Krishna cannot, he is not revengeful. He cannot be. Because whatever he will do, it will be auspicious for the opposite party. But Jarasandha is not able to see that, and he became enemy of Krishna. He considered Krishna as enemy because Jarasandha thought he has killed my son-in-law, Kamsa. Hey, Krishna is like your grandson because Kamsa is Mama, and then Jarasandha is like, Mama's Sasur, like grandfather. But he wants to kill him. So then, here, very interesting line. Now, this is not Jarasandha thinking, okay, there is one demon, but if you see all the demons, the characters who played the role of demon, be it Hiranyakashipu, be it Hiranyaksh, be it Ravana, be it Duryodhana, they all were like that. So this is a demoniac tendency, and it is mentioned in the purport. It would be unwise and illogical to ignore the whole picture the sages are giving us here and instead try to pick apart isolated descriptions. So we also have this tendency, we are not able to see the complete picture because we get afflicted with mode of passion and ignorance. We don't see the complete picture. And we are quick to jump to conclusion based on whatever information we have and our Rajoguna and Tamoguna. So this is not a very good tendency, but every one of us have, because we are afflicted by three modes of material nature. So when Rajoguna, Tamoguna increase, this is what happens. You don't see the complete picture. You start shouting, you start yelling, you start beating, you start fighting, you develop so much vengeance in your heart. You are not able to see the complete picture. You only see that you are right and everyone else in the world, be it Krishna, they are wrong. That's demoniac tendency that Jarasandha had. And it happens with us, unfortunately. That's why we become so revengeful. Personal agendas, hidden motivations, all these words we have. Sometimes we just take some part of Prabhupada's lecture, some parts of Prabhupada's letter out of context, and then we say, see, I am right. Ultimately, we are protecting our false ego, nothing else. First, you understand the entire context, what Prabhupada is speaking. Just to prove our point, okay, we may quote Acharyas. It's good to quote Acharyas. It's good to quote Prabhupada's lectures or letters reference, but not out of context. just to prove, oh, that Jiva knows. You know? Not that if I am becoming angry, I may be wrong. What is the motivation behind that? That makes a person wrong or right. And that Jiva knows. So Jarasandha was not able to see the complete picture. So we also have this tendency, we don't see complete picture, and then mode of passion and ignorance, we live our entire life. The more we try to protect our false ego, the more we are becoming trapped in the illusion of Maya. I have false ego. Who's protecting my false ego? Mind. Lord Kapila explains the third canto. Prabhupada writes in purport. So false ego, the mind is born out of goodness. Mind is born out of goodness. False ego suppresses the intelligence and makes friendship with mind. And what is the benefit of mind? Mind thinks he is independent. And what benefits false ego gets? He gets protected by the mind. And they both are enemies of the soul, the sadhaka. Wake up, Jeev Jago. When we are describing our enemies, if you sleep, बोलते हैं ना, जो मनुष्य परदेश में सो गया मानो उसका सब कुछ खो गया. So this is pardes, material world. We can't afford to sleep. We lose everything. So then, mind is my enemy. Whose mind? Your mind? No, my mind. My mind is my enemy. My false ego is my enemy. The situation arises. Krishna creates situation through scriptures, through sages, through guru, through other devotees, where he can actually kick the mind and false ego. Basically false ego. But then I think, no, why he is doing this? He is my enemy. No, he is kicking out your enemy. But you are considering this person as enemy. That is mental concoction. That's how we get trapped. When we have any disease, you go to doctor, he is removing the disease, he is removing that, cancerous substance from your body. Let him remove. No, it's my body part, I cannot allow you to remove. You are my enemy. No, he is your friend. Enemy's enemy is a friend. So Krishna's instructions is given in the scriptures, Guru Parampara, all the sages, all the devotees, they are actually friends. And even if other person is conditioned soul, okay Prabhuji, I accept that Krishna is a friend. Guru Parampara, all the gurus are friend. Prabhupada is friend. Scriptures are friend. But this devotee, he is a conditioned soul. How can he be my friend? See, he is a conditioned soul. But Krishna is using this conditioned soul to crush your false ego without his knowledge. No, but he is doing out of vengeance. Even if he is doing out of vengeance, he is crushing your false ego, no? Which is beneficial for you. So what's the problem? That thought will come only when you are in goodness. But we are so vulnerable. When we see other person in ignorance or passion and he is dealing with us, we get afflicted with ignorance and passion because we are vulnerable. We cannot sustain our goodness. Even if the other person is dealing with vengeance, what is the problem? He is crushing your false ego. He is making you detached, which is good for you. Which is good for you. That is how we can become pure. You have to allow the process to take place. Then only you will become pure. It's little painful. Painful not for the soul. The process of purification appears painful, but it is not painful for the soul. It is painful for false ego. The process of purification actually is blissful for the soul. Because you are going closer and closer to Krishna. How can it be painful? But the false ego thinks it's painful for false ego, and we are afflicted, so we think I am false ego, I am the mind. I'll give one example. Some terrorists, they are running in the city. They ran out of weapons. They don't have bullets, they have only guns. And police is behind them. It's raining, dark night, and they knock your door and immediately get inside. And they lock the door and they show you the gun. Oh, but there are no bullets. And you do not know that there are no bullets. And they say we are hiding, don't tell anyone. And they are hiding for few hours and few days. Police is still in search of them. And after 1 week, police comes and knocks your door. Have you seen 2 terrorists? Have they entered your house? Who's police? Your friend. But in these 6 days, these terrorists doing some emotional melodrama, they won your heart. माँ के गर्भ से कोई आतंकवादी पैदा नहीं होता, हालात ने ज़माने ने मुझे आतंकवादी बनाया. All these melodrama starts, and then you become friend, and then you try to protect these terrorists. So who are these terrorists? Mind and false ego. So they have captured you. We become emotional sometimes. If we are hurt, we start crying. We feel like crying. Who's crying? The false ego and mind are doing melodrama, and soul is feeling so sad about them. And what about police who has come to rescue you? Eventually these terrorists are going to kill you. खाएंगे पिएंगे आप ही को धोएंगे. That's how they subsist. So even if police wala is suppose very rare to find such policemen who takes bribe, but suppose these policemen are corrupt, but still they will protect you from the terrorist. So even if other devotee who may be your roommate is a corrupt person, is conditioned soul, still Krishna can use him as an instrument to protect you from your enemy, which is called mind and false ego. That's how Krishna works. Doctor has to operate sometime in emergency. There are no, tools. So there may be a rusted tool. Whether the tool is rusted, if the doctor cuts your body with rusted tool, then your body will get infected. So what will doctor do? He'll put a tetanus injection in advance. But he'll operate because there's a bigger disease, cancer. So even if conditioned soul, that conditioned soul has the capacity by the instruction of Krishna to purify you. Then the mind will tell you, Prabhu, you are also conditioned soul. And you are also, or you can also be the instrument of Krishna. So why don't you go around and purify everyone? Hare Krishna. And then the last text. Tata utpatya tarasa dayyamana tatha dubhav dashayaka yojana tungan Nipetatur adho bhuvi. The two of them then suddenly jumped from the burning mountain which was 11 yojanas high. So 1 yojana is 8 miles, 11 into 8 is 88, and fell to the ground. And purport it is mentioned 11 yojanas approximately 90 miles, which is exactly 8 miles. So that is how they jumped. And before that only Dwarka fort was created, Dwarka was created. Why Dwarka is called fort? Because surrounded by water, protected. And now Krishna will go, and Jarasandha thinking, his false ego got pacified. See, Krishna came to kill his false ego, but he wanted to protect. Krishna said, okay, protect. And false ego got pacified. I thought, I have killed Krishna and Balaram. I have taken. ससुर ने दामाद की मृत्यु का बदला ले लिया. And he starts going home. And Krishna is engaged in other league, which we will see. Hare Krishna. So, any questions? Any comments?
Hare Krishna. Regarding Govardhan mountain,
Gandhamandam.
Gandhamandam mountain, what I hear during the fighting between Indrajit and Lakshman, I am giving a reference of Ramayana. But then Lakshman fainted and fell on the ground. So then everybody was surprised. Then how will you wake up? So then one Vaidya came there.
Who came?
Vaidya.
Vaidya.
No doctor was there. Vaidya came, he suggested that we have to bring one Vishalya and one herb from this mountain. So immediately Hanuman was there. Then he went there to bring that Vishalya Karan. So he was not able to find out. He cannot recognize. Then he brought the entire mountain to that spot. And he was defeated and ever. This is not that mountain here.
Yeah, obviously. See, Gandhamadan is not the name. Name is Pravarshana. Gandha mountain is a quality. So there may be many mountains who may have same quality. So that is different than the different.
Different mountain.
Because that mountain Hanuman lifted went to South India. And this mountain still appears to be North India. Somewhere between Mathura and Dwarka. I don't know the exact location. Maybe we have to see on the Google map.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you. Do we say this material world is imperfect?
We don't say this material world is imperfect. We say this is perfectly created imperfect world. There's a difference. If you take only half part and say it is imperfect, that is wrong.
Perfect. Can you explain?
So this is perfectly created imperfect world. So this world is perfect. And that's what Prabhupada also is complete. But this world is, what is in 8th chapter Bhagavad Gita, the Dukkhalayam. So you can never find any perfection in this world except to go back to Godhead. Everything you do will end up in a misery. So that is why this is imperfect. So this is perfectly created imperfect world. That means it is perfectly designed by Krishna to, everything, every object, every human being you touch, you'll get some miseries. Today or tomorrow. That is how it is imperfect. But it is perfectly created. So this phrase, if you take complete, in the context, that's okay.
When we see Om Purnamada,
I said that. I said that's complete. But complete in what? Is this... Acha, take care. You are talking about Isha Upanishad, Om Purna Madha. This world is complete. Now again go into context. What is completeness of this world? If this world is complete, why is Krishna telling us to leave this world and go to spiritual world? If this is complete, why don't we stay here? Why Prabhupada is telling this life, make your last life, go back? If this world is complete, we should stay here. This world is not complete.
There was line in the introduction of Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada says, there is a complete facility for the small complete units, living entities, to realize the complete and all sorts of incompleteness as experienced due to incomplete knowledge about the complete. So it is basically the intelligence, part of intelligence, incomplete knowledge.
So that is why I said there is only one completeness or perfection in this world, which is a process of going back to Godhead. That's what Prabhupada is saying. Otherwise, this world is not perfect. And if you quote Ishopanishad, again that is out of context. This world is not perfect, complete. It is incomplete world. Material world is incomplete. If this was complete, Krishna will never tell us to go back. It is not a spiritual place, material.
Here also you have complete facility
To go back. There is a process of bhakti. So process is complete. And if you apply completely, then you will reach to the complete world and you will take shelter of the complete person. But you have to apply the process completely. So then it will become complete. Otherwise it is incomplete. So again same, Ishopanishad, even though it is said, but you see, you read the purport, Prabhupada explains about this. Context. Hanuman Prabhu.
हरे कृष्ण। जरासंध जो है वो भगवान श्री कृष्ण और बलराम से मथुरा में युद्ध किए। 23 अश्विनी सेना लेकर 17 बार युद्ध किया, तो हर समय वो हार जाता था और बलराम जो उसको बांध लेते थे, फिर कृष्ण उसको वहाँ पे छुड़ा देते थे, क्योंकि वापस हो और दुष्ट लोगों को जमा करके लाए। फिर इसका नारद उससे भेंट हुआ जरासंध का, तो उसने बोला कि तुम कृष्ण को पराजित नहीं कर सकते, कालेवन है और उसके सहायता लेने से ही काम बन सकता है। अगले बार कालेवन को साथ लेकर आए तो प्रभु सोचते हैं अस्पृश्य है, मिलेक्स है, तो उनके साथ युद्ध नहीं किए और अपना भागने का उन्होंने किया और अंत में उसको उनके हाथ से उसको जलाकर भस्म किया और उसका भी प्रभु उद्धार किया।
हरे कृष्ण।
हरे कृष्ण।
श्रील प्रभुपाद की ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की निताई गौर प्रेमानंदे।